Hello and welcome to the editorial analysis of the Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the editorial of the 17th of June. So coming to the first article, a different tent. Now basically the context of this article is with regards to the Sco Summit that is taking place. We had discussed an article on this previously also. I'm sure you all by now you all know that the Sco Summit is what is taking place in Bishkek, which is the capital city of Kyrgyzstan. So these are some basics about the summit that you need to know. Now this organization as such is very important for India. Definitely a question is what you can expect. There are some core organizations vis-a-vis which a question can come anytime. So amongst these core organizations, SCO is one such organization, and the summit has recently taken place, so it becomes relevant for the mains of this year. So that is the relevance of this particular article. Now coming to the issues, first and foremost you need to know some basics about the SCO itself. Now this is an organization which is primarily led by two countries, that is Russia as well as China. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the full form. I'm sure you know that, some basic details. Also what you need to know is about the other countries that are a part of the SCO. One is Afghanistan, then there are the Central Asian countries which includes Uzbekistan, it includes Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan. Also India and Pakistan are a part of this organization. These two have recently joined in the year 2017. So this is what you need to know about the framework of the SCO. Now one thing that is important here is with regards to a keyword that was given. Now this is basically a strategy of foreign policy which India is following. This is a stated policy, and if this is what is the stated policy, then this is something that you have to bring out in your answers. India has a stated policy of multi-alignments. Now as of now you should know that after the Cold War, this is the time that there are two poles that are emerging. One pole being the US and the other pole is what is led by Russia and China. And it is being seen at this point of time that India is being seen as to be more close to the US pole. So this is something that India has never welcomed. Even during the time of the Cold War, India had followed the non-alignment movement, or non-aligned policy was what India was following, and now the policy that India follows is that of multi-alignments. So this is one important analysis vis-a-vis India. So this is one term also which I would recommend that you should try and bring out in your answers. Another thing that is important is with regards to the relevance of SCO. This is the most important analysis of this particular article. A question I am expecting, if does come on SCO, it might be on the relevance of SCO for India. So in that context, you must be prepared. Now the first relevance is that it adds to India's stated goal of multi-alignments. It is a forum of alignment which is countering or ensuring balance to the US stand that India is being posing as of now, or the US picture that is being seen in India, that US is more dominant in India. So to create a balance there, an organization like the SCO is what is helping India. So that is what is the first relevance. The second relevance is that we all know that SAARC is what is not functioning as of now. SAARC is literally dead and India is not investing any time in SAARC. So in that context, what becomes important is that SCO becomes the only platform where India gets an opportunity to interact with two countries, one being Pakistan and the second being Afghanistan. So indeed, in the absence of SAARC, SCO is very important. So that is the second relevance. Also, there is an alignment on issues like energy security, connectivity, trade. So that is the third relevance. Fourth relevance is with regards to global institutions like the WTO. All the SAARC countries have upheld their faith in the WTO. As of now, WTO is facing crisis because of the role played by US. So WTO is what is important. Also, the Paris Agreement is what is relevant. All these bodies are what are important. Previously, also in one article, we had discussed that SCO is important because of the United Nations Security Council reforms that India is seeking. So these are the relevance of SCO for India. So you should be prepared with this aspect of the SCO, which is going to be important for mains. Another thing that you should know is with regards to the Bishkek Declaration. Now this is in the context of Afghanistan. In this particular summit, this declaration has come that all the countries of the SCO are in the favor of an inclusive peace process for Afghanistan, which is led by the people of Afghanistan themselves. This is what even is the stand of India vis-a-vis Afghanistan. So this is another relevance of the SCO for India. So that is what is important. Now some challenges or some irritants vis-a-vis the SCO are again what are important. The first irritant is Pakistan. India-Pakistan relationship is at the lowest. So India has to engage with Pakistan on this forum. So that is something that India does not like. Another irritant is with regards to the Belt and Road Initiative. All the other countries of the SCO are a part of the BRI. They are favoring the BRI except for India. So that is one irritant. The third irritant that is emerging is with regards to the S-400 defense missile system, which India was to import from Russia. Now, the challenge here is that India wanted to import this from Russia, but US has threatened India of sanctions if India goes ahead with this import. So this is one irritant that is emerging. Another issue that is important, which I have not mentioned previously, which is new for me also, is with regards to the access that India will be giving to Huawei. Now, Huawei is basically a company of China, and India is planning to give this company access for India's 5G network bids. But this is what is again being opposed by the US. US is saying that India should not allow this Chinese company to make bids for India's 5G network. So this is again something that is a pressure that is bullying by US to India, that it can be relevant there also. And this is one irritant that has come out in the SCO. So this is what has been analyzed in the entire editorial. Indeed, an important one. SCO, I cannot underline more the importance of this particular organization. You have to be prepared for this one organization, either for prelims or for that matter if you're planning to write means this year. So in that context also, this will become very, very relevant. So that's the relevance of this particular article. Coming to the next article, missing remedies. Now the context of this article is the recent attacks that were done on the doctors in Kolkata. Now basically what happened here is that after the death of a patient, the kin or the relatives of the patients attacked a doctor, and it has resulted in some grave injuries to the doctor. So this is what has resulted in mass protest by the entire community of doctors, and this is what has resulted in a pan-India protest. So this is what becomes important for us. Some issues are what are important. The first issue is with regards to the need for a safe working environment. It is but obvious that doctors have a very, very sensitive role to play, and for them to fulfill their duties in a committed manner, it is important that a safe working environment be ensured for them. This kind of a mob behavior by the people towards doctors is what is definitely unacceptable. So that is the first issue. The second issue is with regards to the laws in this context. Now already there are a lot of laws which are covering or which are providing protection to the doctors. There are some special state laws which are there in this regard. Also under the IPC protection is what is given. So there is not basically a need for laws is what the editorial is discussing. Now there are some challenges which the entire health sector in the country is facing, and this is what is very, very relevant. First and foremost, you should know that there has been a neglect of the public health sector in India, and that is no denial. Visit any government hospital and it is very much clear that what is the condition of the government hospitals. Also, the treatment has become unaffordable. Also, there is a problem of the commercialization of the care delivery. Often it is happening that so much of privatization and commercialization has happened that often the patients feel exploited, the relatives of the patients feel exploited. Also, there is a high cost of medical education which is not allowing a large number of doctors to come into the public sector. So this is what is resulting in a scenario where there is a shortage of doctors. So these are some systemic problems that are facing the health sector, and it is probably because of these challenges that patients are facing a sense of frustration, and an anger is what is rising in the minds of the people, which has been vented out on the doctors. That is one analysis that you need to bring about. Now, the political stand on this issue is what has not been good. The Chief Minister of Kolkata, Ms. Mamata Banerjee, has openly criticized all the doctors, so as a result of which the agitation was also against her statements. Now, the importance of this particular article, in my opinion, can be for ethics paper. Question might come in the context of health sector also. So from that perspective, for general studies paper 1, you have to be prepared with this topic. But in ethics paper, this kind of a question might come, that what will you do if such kind of a situation does happen? You are the chief medical officer, for instance. What will be your response? Now, basically, you have to show some ethical values of compassion. The people who have attacked the doctor, they might have done something wrong, it is true, but you have to step into their shoes and understand their state of mind. They have complained that there was a delay in treatment. They have just lost a family member. So one sense of compassion towards them is what needs to be shown. Definitely the route that they have taken is what you cannot accept. That is not right. But the sentiment of compassion is what has to be appreciated. Empathy, compassion, these are important topics in the ethics paper. From that perspective, you have to analyze this particular issue. Now, some solutions are what are offered here. Structural changes are what are required. Increasing the government health expenditure is what is required. The target is that of 2.5% of the GDP. This is what the government should ensure, so that quality of services in the public sector, public health sector, what are increased. The vacancies are what need to be filled, so that doctor-patient ratio is what is increased, and so that stress on the doctors is reduced. and for the people who are coming for the treatments, they feel respected in these institutions, and they feel that justice was what was done. So that is the entire issue, and that is the entire analysis. That is how the article becomes important for ethics paper as well as for the health section of the mains paper. So that is where the relevance is. So coming to the next article, qualifying for leader of the opposition. Very, very important. If some of you know, in the 2014 paper, the leader during the 2014 election, this was a controversy that has emerged vis-a-vis the leader of the opposition, and questions were asked in the mains. This is what has re-emerged, and a question is what you can definitely expect. So indeed important. Now coming to the issues which are important, first and foremost point that I have included is with regards to the Act. This is primarily not very much in sequence, but I have given it the first place so that if you don't remember anything from the discussion, you should at least remember this Act. This is the Act where the leader of the opposition as such has been mentioned about, his perks, his salaries, the emoluments, all the allowances to be given to the leader of the opposition are what have been talked about. So this is one thing that is important, that is the Parliament Act of 1977. The next issue that is important is with regards to the 16th Lok Sabha. Now, the current Lok Sabha is the 17th Lok Sabha. The previous Lok Sabha was the 16th Lok Sabha. And it was in the 16th Lok Sabha that the Congress party, which was the primary opposition party, had won only 44 seats. Now, for the leader of the opposition, there is an understanding that there should be a quorum. Now, basically, for one sitting of the parliament to take place, it is important that a quorum is there. For any house, a sitting can only take place if some minimum number of people are gathering. If one person is only gathering, the sitting will obviously not take place. So this quorum is that of 1/10 of the member. So it is believed that at least the opposition party should have 1/10 of the strength, so that if it wants to hold a meeting of that particular house, it should be capable of holding the meeting without the government participating. So from that perspective, it was decided that at least the opposition party should have a quorum, but this was not a hard and fast rule. This is not what is mentioned in the constitution. There is no provision for the leader of opposition in the constitution. So this is only an agreed upon rule, and as a result of which the quorum is what could not be established in the 16th Lok Sabha, because the quorum is 55. And also in the 17th Lok Sabha, now the Congress party has won only 52 seats. So again the quorum is short by 3 seats. So the issue of leader of opposition is what is again emerging. Now the importance of opposition parties is what is undeniable, and opposition is what is obviously needed. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely is the common adage, and in that regard you need to understand that obviously opposition is what is required to ensure checks on the government, to criticize the government, to bring about another perspective. And one statement that has been given in the editorial is that if an opposition is what is not there, then it is important that an opposition be created. So that is one thing that is important. A historical analysis of the leader of the opposition is what has been offered in the article, and a question can come in this regard also, that analyze the evolution of the post of the leader of opposition. Now basically, as I told you, this was not something that was there in the constitution itself, and for a long time it was the Congress party that was dominating. There was no need felt for the leader of the opposition. It was only in the year 1969 that the Congress was split into the Congress R as well as into the Congress O. So at that point of time, a leader of opposition is what was created. And so for prelims point of view, you should know that Ram Subhag Singh was the first ever leader of opposition. So that is one thing that you need to know. Then from the 9th to the 15th Lok Sabha, each time what was happening was that no single party was what was coming into full power. Coalition governments were what were being formed. So there was easily a post, or easily the quorum requirement was what was being formed, and a leader of opposition was what was there. It was only from the 16th Lok Sabha that the challenge is what has emerged. So that is one thing that it becomes important for us to know. And again, what you need to remember is that the leader of opposition is considered equivalent to a cabinet minister. The salary, allowances, perks, facilities are equivalent to that of a cabinet minister, and this is what is under the Parliament Act of 1977. Please remember this act. If a question comes, it becomes very, very important for you to mention this particular act. So that is one thing that is important. Also, the role of the speaker is what is important here, because the speaker will give under direction 121C. This is something that you should know. This again some legal matter that is important. Direction 121C. It is under this that the speaker decides upon the leader of the opposition. Now, basically, the editorial is saying that because this is not what is named in the constitution, and it is only a part of the Parliament Act 1977 under a particular direction, the speaker should have some discretion, especially in this particular case where the party is only falling short of 3 seats. So in this case, the speaker should rise to the occasion. Even the The government should rise to the occasion. They have got such a huge victory. They should show some magnanimous nature, and they should allow for a leader of opposition to be established. That is what has been discussed. Also, the editorial is calling for the need of a pre-poll alliance. Now, why this is important is that the editorial is saying that basically if a pre-poll alliance is what is formed between parties, then that is what should be considered one single party, and from them a leader of the opposition is what should emerge. This will also result in a scenario where pre-poll alliances will be encouraged and they will be formed. As of now, the problem is that there are approximately 2,000 registered political parties with the Election Commission of India. So this creates a lot of confusion. What is important is that these kind of alliances should be formed so that there can be lesser number of groups that are there, and more efficiency in elections is what can come. So that could be another benefit of this kind of a pre-poll alliance, is what has been discussed. So that is the entire analysis of this particular article. Indeed, a very, very important article. Leader of opposition, in my opinion, will be an important topic for the general studies paper 2. So from that perspective, you have to prepare this topic. That is the relevance. Coming to the next article, in the absence of good law. Now, the context of this article is with regards to the increased litigation on public procurement. Now, what is public procurement for those of you who do not know? Suppose the government wants to take some cars, maybe for the government purposes. Some gypsies are what the government is requiring. So the government will file a tender, will release a tender, and many companies will file this tender that they will say that we will provide 30 jeeps and say 50 lakh, another might say we will provide in 55 lakh, some might say in 40 lakh. So based on these tender, the government finally selects the best tender and gives the order to a particular company. So that is the process of public procurement. Now what has happened is that because of in this process of public procurement, there has been a lot of litigation recently. So as a result of which this article is what has been written. Now the first issue that is important is that there is no central law on public procurement in India. This is first thing that you should know. There were attempts to make a central law in the year 2012 under the UPA government, and also later in the year 2015. But in both the cases, the law is what could not have been passed. So there is a vacuum of a central law, is what is the first analysis. The second issue is with regards to economics of the public procurement. Here you need to understand something very, very important. Approximately 30% of the country's GDP is what is comprising of public procurement. So this is a huge amount of sum, and if this is what is not covered under law, so this is a huge vacuum, and this is something that is requiring an urgent need for a law. So that is what is important. The constitution again is silent in this matter. The article that is important here is the article 282. Under article 282, what has been mentioned is that financial autonomy is what is given to the government in public spending, as a result of which there is no constitutional direction in this regard. Some states have made some laws vis-a-vis public procurement. These states are Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Assam, but these laws are again inefficient and not working properly. So that is what has been discussed. Now the role of the judiciary should have been positive here. A judicial legislation either could have been expected, judicial activism in this regard could have been expected, or the judiciary could have insinuated the government to come up with a law. But the issue here is that the judiciary instead has created so many restrictions and rules and confusion that all of this matter has further gotten more and more complicated. So that is what has been discussed in the editorial. In my personal opinion, the article is not very relevant. Question in this regard might come. Every year, UPSC will ask you one or two such questions which nobody will be expecting, which are not going to be very much relevant. But for those questions, the issue is that is more of a factor of luck. What is important is that you have to at least prepare the core areas of UPSC. So if a question does come from there, you should not miss it. So this is one area where an exceptional or a surprise question can come. Because an editorial was there, we have considered it into discussion. So at least for us, this article should be covered. So that is the relevance. And that's about today's discussion. These were the only important articles, and with this we end our discussion. I thank you all for watching the video.